Google ads are a worthwhile investment, we found it's generally way smarter and way better to show people that are actually already spending that either you have a better way or you can bring them a different thing. I always find like one of the secrets is if you can make your offer complimentary. So when marketers find something good, like booked appointments, like I'm sure the first guy who offered booked appointments was crushing it, but now there's just a fucking bazillion fucking people like all pitching it in everybody's inbox. They all sound the fucking same. Well, that's a lot of like what happens in the marketing space is people copying each other. I hated the clients, I hated the doing it. So I'm not saying SEO isn't awesome. It works. It's a great. We have a lot of people in our mastermind who have a lot of success with SEO. I just didn't want to spend my life doing it. So I'm not like, different strokes for different folks. What's up, everybody? That's the worst disco dancing in history, but it happened. You guys saw it. I am super excited to see you guys for another round. You guys are kicking ass. You guys are just pretty much the coolest motherfuckers ever. I really genuinely mean that. I really, really think you guys are just the coolest motherfuckers ever. Quick little announcements just before we get rock and rolling. I have two. Mexico is full, but we have one person who may or may not be able to make it. So if you'd like to be considered for that last spot, it may not open up. They may be able to make it after all. But if let's close that. How do I close this? Well, whatever. My phone is ringing. What's up, John? So that's the first thing. If you guys are interested in that last spot, we do have a waiting list right now, but it's possible somebody can't make it. I am in the beautiful city of La Paz. It is beautiful. It is amazing. And we are going to have a mixture of building business stuff, make money stuff, and just fun, good time, adventure, hanging out with cool people, doing cool stuff. It's small and intimate by design. So I think you guys are going to get a shit ton out of it if you've ever wanted to. If you like my book and have ever wanted to kind of work with me personally, this is the chance to do it. People have asked me, will you do another one? I think so, but probably not till winter because summer in Mexico kind of sucks anyway, and I don't necessarily have time and bandwidth to do this. Also, my man loves the spirit fingers. Also, for those of you guys who are interested in the mastermind, we got a couple of spots left for that, and I've been basically my pet project. Why I haven't been promoting it all that much the last 3, 4, 5 months is mostly because I've been giving it a major facelift. I've been incorporating something that's on my vision board there in red called Producer Mojo. And Producer Mojo is all about like things you can do, bringing resources together where you get paid. Like as a producer, a movie producer doesn't act. They don't fund the film. They don't direct it. They just get paid for bringing the pieces together and knowing how it all fits together and having a vision. Theodore says, been to Balandra Beach. We are, in fact, going to Balandra by private boat. So for those of you guys who are interested, you can do that. For those of you guys who are interested in the mastermind, beyondagencyprofits.com/wolfpack. I'm now super happy to promote that. And for most of you guys, you would need just one client, just one little measly client to make your return on investment back for the Wolfpack. So if you got some traction already, you're going to want to check that out. Anyways, let's get into the good stuff. Let's get into the questions, which is why you guys are all here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. Look at those huge muscles. I know you guys are just here for that. I got a dad bod. There's no joke about it. Nobody wants to see me shirtless anymore. On the beach in Mexico with my farmer's tan going on. So Shailene says, does anyone use specific methods for weeding out your unwanted customers other than adjusting targeting and ads? This is such a brilliant question, Shailene, because there's a hidden metric in everything you do in the agency world, and it is called, are the right people coming through the machine? And it's a hidden metric because it's not obvious. Like I've had funnels, by the way, where I was booking 40 calls a week, so like almost 200 calls a month, less than that, but almost, and basically taking calls all night and day. And it sounds real awesome, but I was mostly getting like broke, unqualified people. And so like I'd say 70, 80% of those calls are a waste of time. So how do you get the right people to show up? Well, first of all, you need to have clarity about what the actual right client is. And they're usually one or two criteria. And I'll give you guys 2 cheat codes on this is almost always bad clients universally across the board are single solo operators. That's reason number one, is they're just too small to make your shit work. I'm not saying everybody who's a single solo operator will be bad for business. Cool, Theodore. I'll send you some details and let you know. It is June 16th and 18th, by the way. Okay. Secondly, the other criteria that is if they don't spend money on advertising before you showed up. So how can you weed people out besides targeting? Well, you speak to symptoms and problems and challenges of people who fit those descriptions. So I'll give you an example. If I run an ad that says, hey, lawyer, are you just trying to get clients? And are you broke and struggling and trying to get clients? Well, that's like, to me, that's like using macaroni and cheese from a box and fishing in the ghetto. I'm going to end up with broke people who come out the other side of that ad. If I say, hey, Mr. TV lawyer, are you finding that now that you're spending $100,000 per month on TV or more, that it's costing you over $1,000 per signed case? That's a problem of somebody spending money, not of somebody who's broke. So the other thing is you want to speak to symptoms of your ideal clients and no one else. I don't know I'm actually Canadian born. Everybody thinks I'm American, but I'm actually Canadian born. But there's a tax in America. Let's call it ABC tax. And it's only for accredited investors. You got to be like a super, high net worth kind of person. And one of the financial planners I know runs an ad that says, did you pay too much ABC tax last year? I know it's not actually called ABC tax, but the only people who respond to that have money. You're like, broke people don't even know what ABC tax is, right? So it doesn't land for them. So what you want to do is with your symptoms, call out your ideal prospects. It's not just about targeting. It's the language you use. And I almost always, when I see people going, hey, like, I'm only getting broke people on my ads. They're fishing with broke people bait. It's like using macaroni and cheese in the ghetto. You're only going to get broke people showing out of it. So you want to target like affluent people and talk about affluent people problems. So it's like, use lobster bisque and fish at the country club instead of using mac and cheese and fish at the ghetto. You do that, you'll make your life a whole bunch easier. Sam says, since Google ads tend to be more expensive than Facebook ads to get meaningful results, what are the biggest niches that can actually afford Google ads? Here's the deal, Sam. If you want to know if somebody can afford Google ads or not, my man, he's off to the Pilma event. Seth is, dude, I'm sad I'm not going to see you there, but you know how crazy the travel is with 3 kids. For those of you guys who are looking to get results with Google ads, is like the biggest tell that somebody has a budget for Google ads is they're spending on Google ads right now. You'll run into so many problems if you try and convince people who don't spend money that Google ads are a worthwhile investment. We found it's generally way smarter and way better to show people that are actually already spending that either you have a better way or you can bring them a different thing. I always find like one of the secrets is if you can make your offer complimentary. So like, let's say, for example, there's a dentist who's running a pay-per-click campaign and they're doing well with it. If you try and run what I call a replacement offer, which says, hey, we can do better pay-per-click ads than what you're currently doing, they have to fire somebody in order to hire you. That's a replacement offer in a nutshell. And it's the fire your existing provider that's actually the harder sale to make. But if you can make it complimentary and say, hey, we figured out how to get cosmetic people or Invisalign or whatever a dentist wants, and say, hey, let your PPC people run their existing campaigns and we'll just run this complimentary campaign. It's an easy foot in the door. And you're speaking to people who already spend money. So if you focus on that, focus on people who are already spending money and focus on being complementary to what they're doing rather than trying to get them to replace their existing provider, there's no limit to the amount of people. And they're easy to find, right? How do you find like a lawyer who's advertising pay-per-click? You Google and they're right there. It says sponsored ads, right? So like it's not hidden. So that's the secret to doing it is not chasing people and trying to convince them to do it, but finding the people who already do and then showing them a better way. This wasn't next one, by the way, isn't so much a question, but I just wanted to comment on it because it was super cool, and I think there'll be some takeaways for the rest of you guys. Lana says, okay, this marks 3 years for our agency. Happy birthday. Also, today is 2 years in the WolfPack. Time flies. We're probably happier than ever in celebrating the achievements. More than someone who made $1 million. That part of the journey is the hardest, and without Frankie the man, I'd honestly not know what I'd need to celebrate this more than the bigger achievements. It's been 14 months since my husband Serge was released from job jail. We've been able to paddle through someday. Hooray. Exciting moves are ahead, and they are more lifestyle ones, but we would not accomplish them without Frankie, a couple other mentors, and all you guys who extend a hand of helping during this time. So truly accept the bow. Lana, you are awesome. Appreciate you. And just want to say, for those of you guys who are interested, so for those of you guys who don't know Lana's story, she was able to get her agency to the level where her husband has since quit his 9-to-5 prison. Actually, it was more like he was working, like, from what I understand, like 12-hour days. So it's more like a 60-hour-a-week prison, and quit that, and they've gone full-time in the agency. Now they can live anywhere in the world, do what they want. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you guys is, as awesome as what Lana has done, it is not all rainbows and butterflies. I always say, like, entrepreneurship makes 90% of your life exponentially better because you don't have to drive in traffic and you don't have alarm clocks and you don't have shit like that. But the 10% of your life it makes harder, it makes really fucking hard. Like, I can think of an agency owner friend of mine. He was expanding his business to up level and he invested in all this infrastructure. And then what happened is, as he was doing it, he had 2 clients unexpectedly cancel, and he said, I had 1 week to make $80,000. I would have to fire everybody in my agency. And he ended up pulling it off, but it was like a very, very stressful week because you're suddenly faced with, like, how do I make $80,000 happen? And I got 7 days to do it. So just to let you guys know what's possible. I don't think normal people can relate to those kind of problems of, like, I got to come up with 80 grand in cash flow in a week. I'm going to lay off everybody. So I want you guys to understand that as awesome it is for Lana, like, we all deal with, like, the same kind of challenges in this entrepreneurship. One of those big is the uncertainty of the future. By the way, most people in a job, like, they have a steady paycheck that comes every Friday or whatever. They think they're not dealing with uncertainty, but I've been alive long enough to see companies that look like they're going to be around forever lay off, like, 20,000 workers in a day and say you're all fired, and people who are planning on retirement and planning on security suddenly be thrown into the midst of uncertainty. So uncertainty is a part of life. So I give you guys kudos for dealing with that. There's also going to be times where you're going to be overwhelmed in your business. There's going to be times where you're frustrated that shit is not going your way. For me, that's the tech when it doesn't work. So I just wanted to share with you guys, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. The biggest, most important thing is, what do you do about it? And it's like a bike. When you're learning to ride a bike, you're going to fucking fall. You know how many times I fell, like, in 7 years of my first agency? Like, only about a bazillion fucking times. It's about picking yourself back up. And this is where people, like, get really caught up because they see people's social media highlight reel and think everything is hunky-dory and awesome. Like, they never have fights at home. They never have money stresses. Everything's, like, just vacation-y perfect. I'm here to tell you, like, I wake up tired of my kids. I have client issues. The tech doesn't always work. Like, I deal with that shit all the time. So I just want to tell you guys, like, it's not all rainbows and butterflies, but if you're willing to push through those things, it's fucking worth it. Like, it's worth it in every single way because you get to live a life that most people don't. Like, I can go eat where I want. I can do shit on a Tuesday, right? Like, who gets to do shit on a Tuesday? So I just wanted to share that with you guys because I think that's going to be helpful to a few of you guys. It's a little motivation from Frankie Finn. I know I'm not a big motivational guy, but I hope it helps some of you guys who are going through those. When you're going through the challenges, you are not alone in those. It feels like it, and probably everyday people around you can't relate to them, but I promise you other people in our world actually can relate. So, you know, connect with people, make friends, join masterminds, connect with mentors, intentionally friend people who've been there, done that. All that helps. Ray Ann says, hello, I have a small obstacle I'm trying to deal with. Building my first agency, I have 3 prospects that are interested in watching my video where I do the demonstration. Thing is, I have no clue what I can guarantee I can offer them because I have no idea what's the average cost per lead for their service. I wanted to offer 2 options, pay per show or monthly retainers, and offer full refund, including ad spend if they do not get a return on investment. It's a very high ticket service in the plastic surgery niche, 10 to 20K product. Any advice? Okay, Rayanne. So this is the thing. And by the way, even people who've cracked sales struggle with this. I think what most people understand, there's a couple of assumptions built into what you're asking here. Assumption number 1 is that you have to guarantee some kind of big outcome. And I see a lot of, like, what I would call, for lack of a better term, asshole marketers making big assholey promises. I had one in my inbox the other day. Guy said, with our outreach system, I guarantee I will add you $300,000 to $500,000 per month to your business. Now I thought, like, imagine I hired this guy and they only make me $100,000 a month. Does that mean I'm gonna hate him? You only made me $1.2 million, you fucking asshole. And so everybody thinks you have to get bigger and bigger with the promise thing, and it's actually the opposite. Is the small but meaningful promise. If you guys who are watching this on YouTube or the replay, go back to the beginning and listen to when I talk about the WolfPack Mastermind. Because I don't say you're gonna make a bazillion gazillion dollars. I say if you just get one client, if you just get one. And usually the best small but meaningful promise is one of something. If I could just bring you one motorcycle case, if I could just bring you one cosmetic pick, if we could just get you one client, if we could just do one of something. So you're not always going to do one of something, but that's the first thing is, like, if you're going to make a promise, make it small but meaningful, like foot in the door, and feel that client out. Second thing is, I think people misunderstand what clients are looking for, and therefore think you need case studies, you need testimonials, you need, like, to have done this a million times. And I'm not saying those things don't help. When you got them, use them because they work. But I'll tell you, the first SEO person I ever hired, and he was open about the fact I have never done SEO for someone else. And at the time, he was all I could afford. And he said, he sent me so I told him I was trying to, like, I was at those days I was running a real estate investing website. It was a friend of mine who'd created a course. We were selling it on the old internet. That was my first foray in, like, 2007 into this world, which, by the way, I didn't make any fucking money in my entire first year, just so you guys know, zero. And it took me another half a year to make one sale. I'll still never forget the first time somebody gave me $47 of internet money. I called up my buddy Matt, furious and excited, like, somebody just gave us internet money. And he was like, who? And I was like, that's the best part. I don't even know who the fuck they are. So I just want you guys to know a little bit about the struggles, too, to give you a little balance, because I feel like the internet is full of shit. So anyways, back to the SEO guy. He said, I've never done this for anyone, but he was affordable for me, and some of the other people weren't. I wasn't making, like, big dollars or anything back then where I could afford to pay top dollar help. But how he sold me is he went through and actually created an SEO plan. He said, this is your site. These are the keywords you're going after. This is how many links the top person has. This is how far behind. These are the websites I think right now I could go get links from. And this is how I could close the gap and get you there. And he had a fucking plan. I'll tell you, somebody the other day was telling me about how they sold their first website. They went in and they said they made up a mock-up design and said, this is what I have in mind for you. They showed up with a real plan. Now, a lot of times when people are in the stage you're in, they think, I'll make an offer, and then after people pay me, then I will go figure out what I'm going to do. And it's usually the opposite. Is once you figure out what you're going to do for people, they'll start paying you a lot quicker. Like, I don't want you to pay you and then you're going to figure out the website. I want you to know, like, have a fucking awesome website in mind, and then I'm just going to pay you and you go build it. So if you're not sure how to go get clients in the stage you're at and what you could say in a demonstration video, just show them the plan. Show them, here's what I plan to do for you after you hire me. And by the way, this will shift the conversation to, should I pay you? Should I not pay you? To what we're going to do after we get started working together, which is generally a better place for the conversation to go. What happens is when you're not used to making sales, you make the yes or no and the credit card decision, a big decision. When you start getting used to it, when you start getting used to people just paying you, what happens is you already start talking about what's going to happen after the credit card, because it's the most normal thing in the world, and that's where you want to be. So you want to talk about, like, the credit card almost like it's an afterthought. Here's what we're going to do together, and you don't have to make specific promises of, like, hey, this is my website. I guarantee you it'll get you 100 bazillion fucking leads. You can just say, like, this is what I had in mind. I don't know how much it'll increase your blah, 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 but I bet you we could probably find 10, 20% of leads right here just by making the call to action more prominent and optimizing these few things. I don't know till we try it, but this is my plan for you. What do you think? And a lot of times, like, people are like, all right, let's do it. So show them your plan. And if you want to make a promise, focus on small but meaningful, not big outlandish. But you can actually get away without any promise at all if you have a real game plan in place. I don't like hiring people that are going to, like, then figure it out. So I get people who message me and say, we can increase your YouTube following. And I go, yeah, how? And they go, well, let's schedule a consultation and we'll talk about it. I'm like, no, give me 1, 2 real fucking ideas that you have. And if I think they're legit, I'll hire you right now. But I'm not gonna like if what you do is just like send me a hey, I'll formulate the plan after you pay me. Like that doesn't generally work. And the whole idea of picking a niche is that you're going to use the same plan over and over for each client. So when you figure it out for one person, you're going to use the same plan 2, 3, 4 times, right? If you're going to do a website mock-up, you don't need to create a new mock-up each time. You can use the same damn one, the same demonstration for each client. But don't wait for clients to pay you to start figuring it out. Figure out what you're going to do for them and show them that as part of the process. Yeah, exactly. Like it's super easy. So I'm glad that's helpful. Raul, my man, says, so I'm breaking into a new niche and I'm in the talk to a dozen decision makers and ask them what their $100 bill customer is. And I can't seem to get past their resistance to get to the question itself. Any advice scripts that are working for y'all? Raul, twofold, okay? First thing is, when you're breaking into a new niche, don't be surprised that people are resistant to talking to marketers. This has nothing to do with you, but marketers fucking ruin everything. Self included, by the way. It's like, just look at what ChatGPT has done to the world. The amount of like bullshit content that's going out into the internet right now as a result of the fact that AI can generate it in 10 fucking seconds. So when marketers find something good, like booked appointments, like I'm sure the first guy who offered booked appointments was crushing it, but now there's just a fucking bazillion fucking people like all pitching it in everybody's inbox. They all sound the fucking same. Well, that's a lot of like what happens in the marketing space is people copying each other. So when you go into new markets, people are going to be resistant to sharing their most personal shit. So I have 2 techniques for doing it. Technique number 1 is on our YouTube channel. It's also in this Facebook group. It's called the Unfair Sales Advantage. And what you want to do is go in and listen to people's problems and go into communities they're already part of and just put your ears up and listen. You have nothing to do. You don't have to talk to anyone, and you just look for what generally gets upvoted. And when you really understand this will dramatically shift your results. I'll give you an example of how, okay? So one of the things I found in lawyers is I found an upvoted answer. Somebody said, what's the hardest part about being a lawyer? And this lawyer's answer was, by far the clients. I don't mean the good clients who listen to you as the learned analysis of a professional. I mean the good clients, or I mean the bad clients who are in this on principle or think they know the law better than you or just want to make somebody else hurt and are immune to reason kind of thing, right? Well, if you understand that and you go to a lawyer, for example, who just told you the problem is I'm not getting the right types of clients, and you say, I'll get you more clients, which is the same thing as everybody else says, that promise misses because half of his clients he fucking hates now, right? Or she hates. And the more you can say, I'll get you the good kind of clients who listen to you and respect you and see you as the learned analysis of a professional, it's a very different promise, even if you only change it like 10%. And by the way, that person has an expectation setting issue, by the way, just while we're mentioning it. So the unfair sales advantage gets people to tell you their problems in their own words. And almost always, if you know their problem, you know what they want. So I'll give you, for example, like we have people who work with, like I mentioned, Lana works with yoga studios. If there's a location that has 8 yoga studios and they say, our location on the east side is half empty. Well, if they tell you their problem is their one location is half empty, what do you think would make them happy as a result? Right? Full. Right? So it's very obvious. You want to fill the class on the east side. So if you understand people's problems, you can almost always guess the $100 bill without them even telling you. It'll become really obvious. The second thing is you have to lean into conversations and kind of face just a little bit of rejection. And I usually do this with like, hey, I'm not trying to sell you anything if they don't answer. Like, I just really value your opinion. And by the way, those of you guys who are following away in the 90-day challenge, I got rejected quite a few times on this. So I'm dealing with the same shit. Like, I'm in a new niche. They don't want to talk to me. I'm just some asshole marketer calling them on the phone. And a lot of times it's just changing the questions. So we have Chris going through this. He's dealing with veterinarians. And he says, like, which clients do you value most? And they're like, oh, no, I would never do it for money, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes you got to rephrase the questions different ways. Like, okay, which patients, like, do you love dealing with? Which patients are your easiest? You know, it's the same question, but asked in another way because they don't want to talk about money in his case. So sometimes when you get rejected, you just have to, like, reinforce the idea. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just really fucking want your opinion, and I would really value it, and, like, it would mean a great deal to me. And then ask again in a different way, and they'll give it to you. But resistance is part of the process. It's not anything you did. They're just used to being pitched and bothered and harassed and those kind of things. And so you got to kind of, like, you know, be a little bit pleasantly persistent in that. and you'll get through in that $100 bill. I know it's kind of a pain in the ass figuring that out, but if you get that step right, you'll sell inherently what clients want. If you get that step wrong, you'll create a Me Too offer and you won't understand why it's so hard to sell. Like I mentioned the lawyer who said, I want good clients who listen to me and see me as the learned analysis of a professional and they trust my legal advice, right? Well, if I go up and just show him, I'm going to get you more clients using my SEO, right? It's not going to land. But if I say, hey, we figured out how to use SEO to get the good clients who listen to you as the learned analysis of a professional and trust you, like that's a very different promise, even though the deliverables probably almost identical, right? So you want to like really those finer details matter. If you just nail those, it's a little bit of extra upfront work. And I understand it can be difficult at times, but man, you'll make your life easier if you know what people want and you actually sell them what they want, which is not more Me Too marketing offers, by the way. Shoria says, how did best do a reactivation campaign for quick results? Actually, by the way, Shoria, I know Reactivation Campaign is the most popular, like it's super popular in our industry, but I want you to understand that it is actually not the fastest way to help a client make more money. By the way, what happens for any of you guys who ever been through a drive-through at McDonald's? It's been like 10, 20 years since I've been to a McDonald's. I don't eat that anymore, but there was a time where I ate lots of it. And when you go through the drive-through and you order, what happens before they let you buy it? They always say, would you like to add a 99-cent McDoohickey? Would you like to get two blah, blah, blah? And they make a second offer. Now, this is counterintuitive because a lot of times we think, I just sold them something. Like, they don't need more. And actually, if you do that, like 30, 40% of people will take the upsell. So how does this relate to your clients? Is a lot of times is clients have assets they don't realize they're already working with. And the first is like, what's a complimentary upsell that they could offer to clients they have right now? Right now, right? Like that will actually work even faster than a reactivation campaign. Having said that, if that option is not on the table or whatever, the next best option is to go back to their past clients. How do you get it to work? This is so stupid simple, but it's almost counterintuitive to what we're used to doing. And it goes like this. Offer them more of what they just bought. And a lot of times we think, why they just bought it? Why would they need another one? I'll give you an example. I have a friend who sells like cannabis vaporizers. And so like this is an e-commerce sale. And so they just bought a cannabis vaporizer. And so the reactivation offer is, hey, we got a special on cannabis vaporizers. Now, intuitively or consciously, we think, why would they want that? They just bought it. But there could be lots of reasons. They could want a second one for the office. They could want to buy one for a friend. They could want it as a gift, right? There's endless number of reasons why they could buy a second one. So if somebody just came into the office and got plastic surgery and then you're trying to reactivate them 3 months later, the best thing to offer them is more of what they just got. It's so counterintuitive because it goes against our programming. We think like that need is fulfilled. What would they do? But think about this with books. So you can see there's books behind me. I asked this question in the group to make a point the other day. And the question I asked is, how many books do you own? And I want you guys to understand, not one person said one book. Nobody. 20, 30, 50, 100, hundreds, even 1,000 books. But you either don't buy books, meaning you own zero, or you're a habitual book buyer, right? So it's counterintuitive if you sell me a book, that you should upsell me a second book, but actually that's what you should be doing. So how do you reactivate people is you just ask your clients, what are people already buying from you? And you turn that into an offer and you email their list and say, we'd like to offer you a special on the thing you already bought. And lo and behold, if it worked once, it'll work twice. There are rare exceptions where there has to be like something that happens. So I don't normally offer like when I reactivate a list for lawyers, personal injury, because they have to be in an accident in order to like be reactivated. So if that's the case, you just offer it as a referral offer. Do you know anybody who needs a personal injury lawyer? So if you do that, like you'll make it super easy. Just help them sell whatever they're already selling. Because they think, hey, somebody just came to my restaurant and ate yesterday. Why would they come back again today and get the same damn thing? Well, they're hungry again today. Like the need is not met forever. And there's lots of different reasons. So if you want to do easy reactivation, offer them more of what they just bought. It's so simple, but it's counterintuitive to people how they actually do it in practice. Rick, this was a great question, by the way. He says, Yo, Frankie Finn, I know you've talked about this in the past, but not sure where and when. You used to do SEO, but don't think you do now, but it takes 6 months to start to see results. How do you sell that and keep a client 6 months with little to no results? Is that why you don't do it currently, or do you all run some ads for them in the short term till the SEO starts kicking in? Thank you for your help. Rick, this is a serious challenge with SEO in general, because it is the ultimate delayed gratification. Like, if you think about like our instant gratification, like there's so much of our society that's like you buy a chocolate bar at the checkout counter and you're eating it 5 seconds later. It's instant gratification. And SEO, you're essentially promising people in 6 to 12 months, I'm gonna get you to the top of Google, and your phone and your business and all that's gonna blow up. Or sometimes it can be done faster, or it'll take even longer in like really competitive markets. But point being is, like, it's a later result, not a now result. And this is one of the challenges that sell with SEO, and there's more than one way to make that work. So I'm just gonna give you a few of the things that I think will help those of you guys who are in that scenario. Thing number one is you can create an instant gratification result. That can be pay-per-click. It can be run a database reactivation. In fact, part of how I found like database reactivation is because our Facebook ads took a while to work for clients, because there was a dialing in process. Well, we were the first ones kind of running it and figuring it out. And what I would do in the meantime is like run a database reactivation, and they would get a couple of clients, and they would trust me long enough to let the Facebook ads process, which wasn't as long as SEO, but it was still like 3-4 months. And they would trust us long enough because they got a few clients in the beginning. So you can do something, you can add a piece that is an instant gratification. That's one way. Now, having said that, I do know people who are completely successful who do not do any instant gratification. And almost always, and this is a big secret that nobody really talks about, is there's a huge fucking difference between inbound and outbound. Everybody thinks like the solution to everything is drive outbound, like message strangers and book appointments. And I'm not against doing any of that. But if you want to sell SEO and a delayed gratification service, you'll have way better success if you drive more inbound to you as the expert. Why? Because you're the expert and people trust you. And the reason why people don't do this is very simple. It's also a delayed gratification. Inbound is a longer sales cycle, but what happens is they're more pre-sold. So I see this, like I have friends who sell like $20,000 a month SEO. And one of the things they'll do is they'll speak on stages and at conferences, and then clients will talk to, like potential clients will talk to their clients and see how they're doing. And it might take them 1.5 years to hire them as their SEO agency. But when they do, they vetted them already. And so what happens is they know they're the real deal. And so they'll wait 6 months, 12 months, and they'll pay 20 grand a month and be extremely patient because of the fact that they know they've hired somebody who like knows what the fuck they're doing. And you don't get that benefit if you do all outbound push, because nobody really sees you as an expert. This is one of the reasons I'm a big believer in intelligent inbound and like creating expert status for you and driving it to you, because you get the benefit of the doubt and your sales process will just be easier. And I think it's more fun. I like to personally be more heart surgeon and less like door-to-door knocker. I'm not against knocking on doors, and those of you guys are doing it, I'm not shitting on it, but I think most of you guys would do better driving more inbound. And inbound can be done in like a matter of weeks. Like, we're not talking like it has to be lifetimes and lifetimes, but if you can just wait a couple of weeks and drive some inbound to you, what you'll find is like those clients will stay longer. Another thing that'll change it is world-class onboarding. This builds trust in and of itself. Is like if they come in and you just wow them with like your process is on point, they get a welcome gift in the mail, they know they're in good hands, they see testimonials, it'll cause them to relax and just like follow the process a little more. So your onboarding changes how you do that. And then as well, one thing I didn't mention in the text reply is how unique is your SEO? Like, if you guys are doing something that has little twists, so like for example, one of the guys in our mastermind who had like the first person in our mastermind in the WolfPack, He did SEO, but he also combined it with PR. So like, I'll get you in the news. It's a slight little shift, right? Like a lot of you guys probably already do press releases anyway, or at least sometimes do them. And what happens is, but that could differentiate them. Now it's like, hey, we do SEO and get you featured in the news at the same time, right? Now he's in a category of one where he's not easily replaceable. They can't just get the PR component down the street, and so they're less likely to fire him. They're more likely to be patient. And then the other thing is, when you're selling delayed gratification, you have to set expectations over and over and over and over. So I'm sure some of you guys have experienced this. You get an SEO client, they hire you, and then they ask you 5 minutes later, like, I just Googled myself, why am I not number one? And you're like, well, remember when we had that talk where it was going to be 6 months? That's why, because your competitors all have a head start and things like that. But they still ask the question, like, why am I not number one? And so what you have to do is, like, remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you have to paint to them that winning the marathon is if we can be, like, half a mile up the road next month, right? Like, it's a 26-mile race. If we're a mile up the road, or 2 miles, or 3 miles, or half a mile, we're winning. So, like, what I might do is, like, this is your main keyword. You're 19 this month. A big win would get you to 17. Okay, we got you to 17. Now we're trying to get to 15. Now we're trying to get to 14. Now we're trying to get to the bottom of the first page. Now we're moving. And as long as you can paint the picture over and over, and you have to do this, set expectations over and over and over and over until it's obvious it works. Once the phone starts ringing, once people are calling them saying, we're calling you from the Google, you don't have to like do that hardcore expectation setting anymore. But until you get to that point, you have to be a master of doing it over and over. And expectation setting, the longer your shit takes to work, the more expectation setting you need. So if you run database reactivation and it works in like 2 days, you can almost get away with no expectation setting. I still recommend you do it. It'll make your life easier. But having said that, even if you did none and it worked 2 days later, they think you're awesome. If it takes 6 months to work, you're going to have to set expectations like probably every 2 weeks for 6 months until the goal is hit. And you got to do that over and over and over. And because you just mentioned it, I stopped doing SEO because I hated it. I hated like everything about it, like building backlinks. You log into some site, it tells you your password isn't complicated enough. And then a robot asks you, are you human? Drag this, click that. How many fucking motorcycles? You missed a goddamn motorcycle. So I just hated that shit. I hated the clients. I hated the doing it. So I'm not saying SEO isn't awesome. It works. It's a great, we have a lot of people in our mastermind who have a lot of success with SEO. I just didn't want to spend my life doing it. So I'm not like, you know, different strokes for different folks. So that's why I stopped doing it. But having said that, like, you know, the expectation setting part of it never changes. So I hope that's helpful to you, my man, and anyone else doing SEO out there. David says, how do you handle first leads who want to schedule a call? Not only I want no meetings, but I'm also quite introverted. English is not my first language. Overall, I don't feel comfortable with it. By the way, as a small encouragement, it took me over 1,000 emails in the last 3 months and more than 10 different copies and targeting before I found the first that gets me a response other than please remove me from your list. Don't stop if things don't work. Yeah, I mean, that you hit it on the nail, David. Like, especially in the beginning stages where you're at, there's an element of just throwing messaging at the wall and seeing what spaghetti sticks. And then when it does, you got to notice it and do more of it. I'm not trying to be super dirty. Good seeing you, by the way, Rick. David, to your question, you're not the first person, by the way, who's come to us and said, like, English is not my first language. I'm not super comfortable in it. I can do it, but like, it's just not my strength. I don't want to have any meetings. And I experienced this, by the way, as well, so I can relate to your challenges. So I also speak German, and I speak Spanish, and a little tiny bit of French that I learned 9 years of school. I can order in a French restaurant, but that's about it. But having said that, if you had to put me in a sales conversation in Spanish or in German, I would feel like way less comfortable than I do in English. So like, trust me, I get it. I'm not as confident because I don't understand all the words. Sometimes it's too fast for me. Sometimes I don't get little nuances like humor and things like that because, like, you know, I'm just not at the level where I get those kind of things all the time, right? So this is the thing, okay? You can't fully avoid conversations, but you can do them over text. And how I found is what works best for us is when clients request meetings, which they do all the fucking time. Why? Because that's the normal process. They're used to having to talk to people. I say, sure, no problem. Happy to jump on the phone with you. In the meantime, I wanted to send you some stuff. even before we get on the phone. And what I find is if you really know what they're going to ask you on the phone, okay? So this is all they really want to know on the phone. Firstly, they want to know is like, what kind of results can you get? What's up, Petty? So you often, the whole point of the sales conference, they'll tell you all their problems, all their goals, all their dreams, and all that boils down to is like, what results can you get? And inevitably, if you show them a result that they want, their next question will be, and this is almost unconscious, but they'll ask, will that work for me in my specific situation? Because it's nice to see results of other people, but like, I don't want results for other people. I want them for me. Can you do that for me? Right? So then inevitably, their mind will go to a more curious place of like, how does that work? Okay? And then they'll go to, well, how much is it? And so if you look at our actual Loom process, this is what we're doing is we're doing a sales call and fast forward answering those questions. Is we're just showing them a result. We're telling them who it's best for. We're showing them our 3 to 5 step plan for how I'm going to get you a result. And we're just telling them how much it costs. And we're doing all 4 of those in a powerful way. So the reason I say this to you is you can hash out those things over text. And what I do is they say, can I have a call with you? And I say, sure. And then the call never comes. Can I have a call with you, Frankie? Absolutely. But in the meantime, I want to send you some materials just to show you what I had in mind. If you do that properly, you've answered 90 to 95% of the questions they're going to ask, including how much is it? How does it work? You know, will this work for me in my situation? What do you guys do? Those kind of questions. And what will happen is you'll eliminate the need for the call. So if you understand this, like people make sales way more complex than it is with like magic scripts and blah, blah, blah. They just want to know, like, can you solve my problem? Can you get me a result? Is it going to work in my situation? How does it work? And how much is it? And if you can answer the questions on those 4 things, you can do those in text very easily. In fact, faster in text than in voice. Why? Because sales conversations have implied sales pressure. I don't know. This is not anything to do with you guys, but like if any of you guys have ever been to a timeshare presentation, like they do, like my ex-girlfriend used to love getting free shit at timeshare presentations, but they are like super intense. Like they try and sell you the shit at all costs and they do not let you leave. And there's like 87 discounts you got to say no to. And if like, are you absolutely fucking sure? Because this is like the best, blah, blah, blah. And they don't let you leave easily without sales pressure. Well, people are used to that in sales environments, and so they're guarded when they show up. And so you often have to spend like 10, 15 minutes building rapport. When you do it over text, they can easily just not text you back, so it doesn't have the same pressure. So they're more likely to be real with you like right away if you just do it over text. So my suggestion to you is when people ask you for a sales call, say yes, but don't get on sales calls. Say yes. Happy to jump on a sales call with you. But in the meantime, I want to send you some info to help you decide. And what you'll find is they'll often have made the decision without talking to you. That's how we do it anyway. And it's the game plan video that does the convincing. So, but having said that, you are going to have conversations with people. I would recommend having those over text so that you can slow it down a little bit. Think about your responses. Translate if you need to. Things like that. And you'll make your life so much easier. And what you'll find, by the way, is believe it or not, it's actually better for clients because most people do not want to sit on the phone with you 60 or 90 minutes just to find out how much it is. They don't want that. Like if they can just buy it and find out all the details without talking to you. Like I don't know if you guys experience this, but I'm fucking busy. And so when people say to me like, hey, can we jump on a fucking 45-minute call? I'm like, just tell me what you do and how much it is. And they won't answer the question. Like immediately you go into the ignore pile because this is a writer downer that Dan Kennedy said many years ago that I remembered. He said, money is generally intolerant of having to jump through hoops. So every time you ask somebody to do something and introduce friction into or introduce a step, you introduce resistance to people paying you. And so one of the smartest things you can do is just ask yourself, how can I make it dog shit easy for people to give me money and buy my shit? And especially the right people. And if you do that, like what you'll find is like you won't always have an instantaneous answer, but you'll make your stuff easier to do. And having to jump through a 60, 90-minute call is an additional hoop where you will lose 90% of the people in that step. Like if somebody comes to me with an offer, all high-ticket sales begin with this one first step, which is called curiosity. It doesn't begin with like, here's my credit card and I'm going to hurl it at you like a lot of people think. It goes, hey, I'm curious. Tell me more about it. And if they won't tell me more about it, I don't jump on sales calls because I don't fucking have time. Like, I don't need anything you got that badly. And that's how a lot of buyers are. So if you put yourself in their shoes, you'll make your shit easy to buy, right? Like, if you just, like, one of the things you do is if you send them a game plan through a Loom video or whatever, or through text, just say, like, and if you wanted just to get it, here's the sign up link. Like, don't make them have to jump through hoops to buy it. So I hope that's helpful. Booze says, hey, Frankie Finn, King of Mexico, do you suggest sending people from to a landing page or Google form to sign up, then follow up and send the Loom video? This is a good question, and it depends on how that conversation is initiated. So again, like just on the conversation we just had a second ago, is money is intolerant of jumping through hoops. Like, if you really understand, Dan Kennedy's got an awesome story where he says, I go to the country club one day and I just want a takeout order, and I get there and I say, the restaurant's empty, can I get a takeout order? And the guy points to a sign that says, we don't do takeout orders on Sundays. And he says, but you can sit down at a table and wait for it. And he says, but you got cooks in the back. He says, indeed we do. And he says, and you got takeout containers. And the guy says, indeed we do. But you won't give me a takeout order. Sorry, we don't do that on Sundays. And so he ended up just leaving and not buying and going somewhere else. This is how money is intolerant of jumping through hoops. So when we're doing the Loom process and pulling people in through that, what I try not to do is to get people to jump through additional hoops. And so what that means is if I'm emailing somebody, then I will just do the entire sales process through email. I'll send the payment links through email. I'll send the Loom video through email. If I'm having a back and forth chat over Facebook Messenger, then I'll do the entire Loom process through Facebook Messenger. Occasionally, I'll get text introductions from a referral or whatever. I handle those entirely over SMS, and I don't ask them to switch medium or do different things or go to a page. I just have them do where they're at. So it depends a little bit on where they came from you. If I'm running a paid ad to a Loom video, then I'm just going to put a payment link and a buy now button below it. We do some of that. But if I'm having a back and forth conversation by email, I'm going to put a link there. And the idea behind it is it's very simple. Is I don't want people to have to jump through hoops. So if somebody emails me and then I say, oh, you have to go like to this website and then you got to fill out this form and then you got to fill out all this payment stuff, there's friction I've introduced into the process, and all of that can reduce sales. So like I just send them like a payment link right by email, and that's how the whole thing, because I'm trying to make it simple and easy for them to buy it. That's the deeper idea behind it. So having said that, there's lots of ways you can be right with that process, but I just try and keep it stupid simple. So if I'm texting with them, I send them a payment link. If they're being driven to a funnel, then it has a link below it in the funnel. But it depends how they got there. And that's like the whole secret to it, is make it super easy. Don't make them jump through hoops. Don't make them have to come back tomorrow. This happens all the time in Mexico, by the way, is you go to a place. Like I remember I was trying to get my dog a haircut. And I said, hey, are you guys open till 4? Can I get my dog's haircut? Lady says yes. Now, I drive 30 minutes into the city. We load 3 kids into a minivan. That's right. I'm super cool. I drive a minivan. We get in there, and then we show up at like, I don't know, 2:30, and the lady says, oh, sorry, the dog groomer's not here today. Come back tomorrow. There's a hoop money has to jump through. And you know what that means for you? I ain't fucking coming back tomorrow, because that was already too much work. I drove 30 minutes with 3 kids, loaded them in a van, and drove 30 minutes back. And I asked you in advance if I could come in, and you said yes. Now you're just not getting my money. It's really that simple. So carry this deeper principle behind the Loom videos and just make it super simple for people to pay you, however that is. So I just send email payments by payment link. If they came in through a funnel, I let them buy right through the funnel. Like, keep it stupid simple. Josh says, what's your agency's success secret? Oh my God, dude. I feel like there's 100. But I'll tell you the biggest secret that I think not enough people understand, and I know, Josh, you know this, but and for people listening who don't, is everybody thinks sales is the number one success metric. It's an important number. It's probably the second most important number, but there's actually a second more important number, and it's called your retention. And I see this all the fucking time, especially like in beginner groups. So you know what attracts beginners most is like signs of making money. So Stripe screenshots. Look at me in my Lambo and my Ferrari, and this is my big fucking house, and look at all the fancy trips I'm taking. and all of that kind of shit is like, I'm making money. But what nobody talks about is most of those people make these bold promises of like, I see one right now that's like, I guarantee you I'll get you X result or I'll pay you $1,000. Is what happens is, sure enough, like fucking clockwork, 3 to 4 months later, the refund requests begin. And nobody posts screenshots of refund requests. And what happens is, if you're in that, I call them the churn and burn agencies, is every 3 to 4 months, you start at zero again and again and again and again. So everybody thinks the secret to making like sales and all this, as long as you got sales, everything will magically fix itself. But actually, if you're making sales and not keeping people, not only are you not moving forward, but you're actually burning a reputation in the process, and like not creating like something that, like, what you want is for your agency to build momentum where your actual income like keeps leveling up month after month and keeps going forward, because clients stay and pay for a long time. And the biggest secret to retention is there's a couple of pieces that go into it. One of those is starting with a small but meaningful promise, right? Because making promises is one thing, keeping promises is another. You want to make promises that can actually be kept. So for years, our motorcycle case promise is, we'll get you one motorcycle case. Not like, I'm gonna just generate you a gazillion bazillion fucking leads and we're gonna blow you up. Your calendar is gonna be full with booked appointments and all that kind of bullshit. Almost always, by the way, the best small meaningful promises are one of something. What is one small but meaningful thing you could do for a client in the shortest amount of time? Sometimes that short amount of time can be a day. Sometimes it's 7 days. Sometimes it's 90 days. Sometimes it's 6 months. But whatever it is, what is a small but meaningful promise you could make in the shortest amount of time that you can actually fulfill on? Because what happens is, when you start keeping promises, clients want to stay. You can't keep clients without keeping promises. A lot of people say it's about getting results, and it's a factor. But it's not the whole picture, because if even if you get results, but the results are less than you promised, like if I said I'm going to make you $100,000 a month and you're only at 20, then even though it's really plus 20, the client's going to see that as minus 80, because you have not lived up to your promises. So part of retention is actually keeping promises. Second of it is like, retention is how unique you are. If you can just make what I call a mini monopoly, put yourself in a category of one where they cannot easily shop you down the street, you're going to keep clients so much longer because it's easier. There's thing number 2. Number 3 is, if you want to nail retention, world-class onboarding. That'll change the game for you. Is like what I call the grand welcome. The more clients feel like they're in good hands and trust you, the better it's going to be. And then the other thing is like over-communicate. And then I would say the last piece is unexpected extras. If you nail those things, if you think about those things, like even if you go slower on the sales side, in 5 years, you'll be way ahead of a churn and burn agency, because they are burnt out by constantly replacing their entire client roster. What's up? Nathaniel says, how do you get clients to pay that haven't paid their invoices? I'll send you something on this, Nathaniel. I got this from the legendary marketer named Joe Polish, and I've ran this a lot for divorce lawyers. So one of the common challenges in divorce law is they work on retainer, and then what happens is a client will come in the door and they'll say, okay, you got to put $3,000 down, and the person says, how much does it cost me? And they say, well, it depends on how long it goes and how much your spouse wants to fight with you, how much litigation there is, but let's start with $3,000, and then you can kind of top it up later. And they have all kinds of problems in getting paid in the top it up later. And the typical process, by the way, with the top it up later is to call that person and be like, you owe us fucking money. Right? They say it nicer than that, but like that's the process. And what happens is they also have phone calls that they need to progress, like, hey, your spouse wants to go to remediation. Are you going to go to remediation? I can't say that word with them. But what happens is their whole business stops because that person hasn't paid them. And every time they call, like 50% of the calls are like, give us money. And so they start avoiding their lawyer, and the whole thing comes to a stop. So what we did, and this is a letter that is done by Joe Polish, and I'll send you the templates, Nathaniel. But it's a little kind letter in the mail, and it's a friendly collection letter, and it's important that it's sent by direct mail because it's very soft, it's very gentle, and it just says, hey, I noticed you haven't remembered to pay your bill, and then it has a cute little, here's a little string to tie around your finger. so that you remember next time. And if they don't pay, they get a second letter that says, hey, this time I attached 2 pieces of string so you can remember. And if they go, hey, this is getting really serious, but it's very playful in collecting that money. And this is important because you don't want to piss off clients in the process and make them feel like shit about the fact that they haven't paid their bill. Sometimes they're aware of it and it's just like, hey, I don't have the cash flow or whatever, and they're not paying you. Sometimes they don't even know. Like, I've dealt with this where a lot of the bigger clients, they have accounts receivable and things like that. They don't handle any of their bills. They don't even fucking know if they haven't paid you. Like, if the credit card bounced or whatever, they don't know it because they're not even like at the stage where they're dealing with their credit card. So sometimes when clients like don't pay you, they don't even know they haven't paid you. So you don't want to make them feel like an asshole and like threaten them. Usually when you get mail, by the way, for bills, it's threatening. Like, pay us this fucking money or else. And I like the Joe Polish because it's a friendly thing. And it's like, you're not going to burn the relationship to the ground because you're not a insurance company. You're not a credit card company. You're not a mortgage lender. Like, you want these relationships. So anybody else who's interested in that, by the way, I'll be happy to send you a template for that. Just send the message. But I didn't create this, Nathaniel. It's straight out of the Joe Polish playbook. And I've used it. And what we find is it helps. Will it eliminate 100% of your collections? No. But it'll get some of it. Now, having said that, what I recommend to eliminate from the future is I just tell clients we do automated billing because I'm not very good at invoicing and collecting. And I use either just Stripe to do like recurring, or sometimes we'll use for payment plans and things like that. We'll use Stripe plus Zoho. But I would recommend getting the chasing people for invoices and just switching to automated generated invoices and just saying, hey, the computer does the billing. If there's anything we need to talk about, I can modify or change it. But get that part out of your business. You'll make your life a lot easier. And then the other thing is, this is a telltale sign. If this is a recurring problem, not saying it is, but if clients are constantly missing bills with you, it's a telltale sign you're just going after the wrong people in the first place. I always say 80% of the competition is at the bottom part of the market, but they're the brokest segment and they're the ones who miss the invoices the most. You want to deal with companies that have bigger accounts receivable and don't even fucking notice the money they've sent to you. I've had clients have to ask me like, hey, I'm trying to do my taxes this year. Like, any idea how much you've billed us for the year? Like, those are the kind of clients you want where they don't even notice. But yeah, move over to automated, eliminate it at the source, and focus on clients who like have the kind of money to stay and pay for a long time. So hope that's helpful. For those of you guys who missed the beginning, the 2 announcements I had. One is we have Mexico is sold out, but there may be a person who may not be able to make it. So if you're interested in joining the waiting list, meaning if somebody can't go and you like to be subbed in, I may do another one of these in winter. I don't have any immediate plans, so a lot of you guys expressed interest, but just said like dates, times didn't work, but you want to come another time. We will probably do that again later, but I have no definitive plans to do that. Also, I haven't promoted it too much, but I mentioned like the mastermind is filling up. I've been working super hard on just making it like so dog shit easy for people to make money in there. I'm not saying like agency life is, I should say simple, because agency life is more simple than easy, right? Like, get good clients, service them, take care of them, make them happy over the long term. But it's not always easy to do that. But having said that, I basically, what I wanted to do is build a tool library that was more about getting all the value from the tools, from the welcome letters you can use, the swipe files, the buyers list, the upsells you can give to clients, the software you can install from, the recommended providers who can do all the work for you. I wanted to make it more about that and less about like, come listen to Frankie Finn because he's awesome, and more about like, swipe these tools, put them in your agency, they'll fucking work. And like I said, for most of you guys, small but meaningful promise, most of you guys just need one client to pay for the whole mastermind. One good client, and you'll make your return on investment. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go to beyondagencyprofits.com/wolfpack and get the latest and greatest on that. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys. I think 57 minutes is enough of me ranting and raving. I hope you guys got some value out of it, and I hope this is super helpful. And I love the questions you guys are asking in the group. For real, I genuinely think you guys are fucking awesome. I'm super excited to see those of you guys who are coming in 6 weeks. And we shall talk soon, my man, and my dudettes. And may the force be with you. Guys, if you like this video, you're also going to want to grab some free bonuses, which you can get at our website, Beyond Agency Profits. To make it easy for you, I've put the links to it in the description of this video, as well as pinned in the top comment. And we've got a couple of awesome things. This is what you'll get after you sign up. You get some of our best training, how we're closing clients over Loom videos, how we sometimes sign clients that is not a misprint for under $5 US, how to demonstrate your value in like amazing ways, trainings, how to have your clients write the best copy of your life, how we're closing without phone calls, campaigns that we've generated for clients that have done over $100,000, as well as scripts you can use to get conversations going with clients in under 10 minutes. All you got to simply do is go there, enter your name and email address, and then this is what you'll see on the other side. So if that's interesting to you, make sure to click the links below, and I will see you on the other side.